Okay, so we are continuing in Shar Daled Nefesh HaChaim. We're talking about the idea of Torah Lishmo. What does it mean to learn Torah for its sake? Right. So he wants. So at the beginning, Nefesh HaChaim stresses that it does not mean to learn with dveikus. Right, and he shows us a few different places, few different rayas that he had, that learning means knowledge, and it's a quantity, it's not so much a qualitative issue. Even though usually we say lishma, it's a style, it's a way you do something, right? You do it with a certain quality, a certain characteristic, and Nefesh HaChaim brings a few rayas from Chazal that stress the idea of Torah Lishmo means a certain quantitative aspect, that you learn as much as possible. Right? The last Chazal was that you come to Shemaim and they will ask you, did you learn this? If you learn this, they'll ask you, well, why didn't you learn that? And no matter, meaning there's always, until you learn Kol Torah Kula, there's always a question, why didn't you learn more? So, and that was the idea of learning Lishmo. So the question is, why? So clearly the approach here that you have to, your job as a Jew is to try to learn as much of Torah as possible. So that's an aspect of Lishmo. So let's see now. We're going to begin Parag Gimel, right? Aval ha'emes. However, the truth is, ki inyan Lishmo, the idea of Lishmo, for its sake, for its name, Perush means L'shem HaTorah, for the sake of the Torah. Right? So he's pointing out now, he's going to take a certain approach over here. Well, let's see the Rosh that he was going to bring. he's gonna basically base his opinion off the opinion of the Rosh in Nedarim. So v'heinyan kamosh perish harosh, and the idea is the way the Rosh explains in Nedarim al Maimer Rebbe Lozer ber Tzadok. Right, the Rebbe Lozer ber Tzadok says the following. He says, "Asay dvarim l'shem po'alon, do things for the sake of their maker." Okay, asay dvarim, do things l'shem po'alon, for the sake of their actor, their maker. So what does that mean? Says the Rosh, you do it for, what does it mean? For the sake of their actor, l'shmoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You gotta do things for the sake of Hashem. Who should poil hakol manehu, because he acted everything, meaning he acted upon everything and he created everything limanehu, for his sake. And the pasuk continues v'daber bahen l'shmon. The memory continues v'daber bahen l'shmon, and speak in them, meaning in the words of Torah, l'shmon, for their own sake. Right. So Rosh continues to explain kol diburcho, all your words, umasoecha b'divrei Torah, and your involvement in the words of Torah, yiyah, should be l'shem haTorah, for the sake of the Torah. Kagoin, what does that mean? Leida ulahavin, to know and to understand, ulahoisiv lekach, and to increase your taking, upilpul, and your let's call it intellectual investigation. V'loy lekanter or his guys, but not for the sake of lekanter, which I think means to contradict, or his guys, or to be a balgaiva, to be proud of yourself. Okay, so the Rosh points out over here the distinction that Rebbe Lozer ber Tzadok makes when it comes to doing things. Right, it says do things l'shem po'alon, do things for the sake of them, of maker. So that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when it comes to the words of Torah, it says do things l'shmon. Now, why is the split? It should be the same. You do the mitzvahs for the sake of Hashem, you do Torah for the sake of Hashem. Yet over here, for some reason, there's a distinction in the way the mitzvahs, the actions are for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the words of Torah, are for the sake of the words themselves. Okay, so let's see. Diktek Levire. So he's going to just verbalize this. Diktek Levire, he was medaktik to explain Shinu L'Shem Rebbe Lozer ber Tzadok, the difference in the language, in the terminology of Rebbe Lozer ber Tzadok. Shebasiya, when it comes to action, Omar, he says L'Shem Po'alon, do them for the sake of the maker. Ubadibur, but when the speech of Torah, Omar, he says L'Shmon, for their sake, the sake of the words. L'Chein. Therefore, Be'inyan ha'asiya, so he explains. The Rosh explains when it comes to to action, asiya, Pirish. He explains the Rosh l'shmoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shepol hakol amanehu, that he brought everything into being for his own sake. Ubinyan halimud, but when it comes to learning, Pirish l'shem haTorah, for the sake of the Torah. V'kavanosai. Now, what is he? Let's elaborate on what he means. Mevoyer, it's clear. Hainu. Ki asiyas ha-mitzvah, when you do a mitzvah, v'adei shetzricha liyois le-mitzvah min ha-muvchar. You want to do the mitzvah in its best possible form. Mitzvah min ha-muvchar, right? In the choicest way. B'dveikus, you should do it with dveikus, u'machshava tahira, and purity of pure thought, shebatahiris, of purest thoughts. Kifi sichloi v'asagosai, in accordance to your seichel and his grasp. The kideshi iskales elo, so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be iskales, should be praised through this. Ligrem tikune ha'olomis, you should cause this way the fixing of the worlds, v'koichos u'sedorim, and the forces of the world, u'sedorim, and the different orders ha'elyonim that are above. Zeu l'shem po'elon, that's what it means. Do them for the sake of their maker, the maker of these actions. Why? Ki kol po'el Hashem l'manehu, because the pasuk in Mishlei says, everything that Hashem does, l'manehu, he does it for his own sake, meaning for his honor. V'omer Rabbi Seinu Zal, and our rabbis say, likilu soy, for his praise. Good. V'im kivadai, of course, certainly, shegam b'mitzvos, also by mitzvos, ha'ikar b'hem li'ikuva hu ha'asiyah. Now he's taking a side tangent to go back to what he told us in previous Sha'arim, to say, listen, don't forget what I told you before, that when we're talking about doing mitzvahs, these lofty levels of Lishma, they're just lofty levels. When it comes li'ikuva, meaning things that actually prevent the mitzvah from being registered, right? Li'ikuva, meaning things that spoil the actual mitzvah, hu ha'asiyah b'poil, that's the actual action, right? Meaning, he wants to say, don't forget that even though the Gemara says you have to do the mitzvahs l'shem poil and for the sake of Hashem and all these things, that's on the higher madrega, on the basic level of performance of mitzvahs. Doing the mitzvah itself is what you got to do. Just the basic performance. Va'kavona ha'yiseira, and the additional kavona v'toihar hamachshava, and the purity of thought, eina me'akavas klal, that does not hold back the mitzvah, kamoshin is barely el sof shar aleph, like we explained above, and the end of the first gate, al nochan. Im kol zeh, however, mitztaref kedushas v'toihar machshavta. Mitztaref means connected. The kedusha, the holiness and the purity of thought, connects itself le'ikar ha'asiyah b'poil, connects itself to the essence of the action of the mitzvah, right? So meaning, if you can do the mitzvah on level 1, or you could do the mitzvah on level whatever it is, 1,000, right? So the extra kavana expands the action that you're doing. It what's the word? It increases, amplifies it, right? That's a good word. And that through that you could you could inspire, and you could create, you could bring about tikkunim that are greater in the worlds. More so than if the mitzvah would be done without any dveikus or holiness of thought. Aval, however, when it comes to the way a person acts when he's learning Torah, when he learns the laws of the mitzvahs and their halachas, Omar, it says v'daber bohen, you should speak in them. That means to say hadibur b'inyanei mitzvahs, when you're speaking in regarding the laws, the aspects of the mitzvahs, right, in their laws, lishmon, they should be for their sake. Pirush l'shem hadivrei Torah, for the sake of the words of Torah. Hainu, what does that mean? Leida ulehavin ulehoisich lakachul pilpul. To know, to understand, and to increase knowledge and intellectual investigation. Right? So he's saying that when you're doing the mitzvah, right, again, there's a basic level called just do the mitzvah. And that's fine. Then there is an additional level that says do the mitzvah with dveikus for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not for your own any ulterior motive, purely for the sake of Hashem. when it comes to learning Torah, the purity of the lack of ulterior motive is not necessarily for the sake of Hashem, but for the sake of the knowledge of Torah. Right? Not meaning for your own. I don't want to. The reason why I'm learning Torah is not because I want people to respect me, like he says, not his guys, not to be to because I want to be a Balgaiva, because I want to be this intellectual, and I want to come into to a group of scholars and and impress them with my ability to understand the secrets of the Torah. That's not the point. Right, so what's the point of lishmon? Lishmon always means for the sake of this and not for the sake of something else. Right, you want to purify your what's the word? Your not your target, your goal, not your direction. Right, purify the direction that the reason why you're doing this. Right, so the purity when it comes to the mitzvahs, you purify your actions by directing them for the sake of God. When it comes to learning, you purify your actions by directing them only for the sake of the knowledge of Torah and for the sake of greater understanding of Torah. That's the way you achieve purity, right? Of when you're learning. That's what he's saying. Let's see in parentheses. Rashi zal girsa acheres. So on this, and he has to point out to us that Rashi on that Gemara has a different girsa in that Gemara. It says v'daber bohen l'shem shamayim. It doesn't say l'shmon, like the Rosh has it. He says l'shem shamayim. So technically, according to Rashi, there is no difference between mitzvahs and Torah. Both, and this is l'shem po'elon, this l'shem shamayim is the same way of the same thing, different ways of saying it. But l'chen pirish, so therefore Rashi over there explains shetehei kol kavanos chel shamayim, that the ideal is to have your kavanah for the sake of heaven and not for your own personal sake. Amnam, however, inyan uperush l'shmo. However, still, that's only in that particular location of that Gemara. But that doesn't mean that Rashi, he's saying, argues on the Rosh, in the idea that there is a concept called Lishmo for the sake of Torah. Right? That's why he's just using this Gemara and the Rosh because he clearly speaks out this idea in the way he articulates it. But the idea is that he wants to say that when it comes to doing mitzvahs, you always say Lishmoy, for his name, which is referring to Hashem. So if the same idea would apply that learning Torah also has to be l'shem shamayim, it should also say l'shmoy, for his name. Why does it say l'shmo, which means for her name, meaning the Torah, which is feminine, right? So l'shmo means clearly also just in that basic description when the Gemara uses the word l'shmo. When it comes to Torah, it uses the feminine, which means again for the sake of Torah, not necessarily for the sake of heaven. So that's what he points out. So even though in that particular Gemara, Rashi seems to disagree with the way the Rosh explains it, but that's only because he had a different girsa in that particular Gemara. That doesn't mean that he disagrees with the Rosh's concept to differentiate between actions and words. Right? Upirish l'shmo shomer razal b'chol makom. So the explanation, he's saying it's the explanation of the words l'shmo that the Chazal have in all the places. V'adei shegam Rashi is zal yifarish kiperish to Rosh. Of course, Rashi will agree to the explanation of the Rosh. Kan lefigir sosoi, which the Rosh had according to his girsa of this Gemara. V'gam Rashi kan ein kavanosoi dveikus. Even Rashi doesn't mean dveikus, that l'shem shemai means dveikus. Ela de osi la'afuke, he's coming to exclude shlohei lemud l'shem kinter v'geis. Just coming to tell us that it l'shem shemaim as opposed to self-serving, right? It doesn't mean l'shem shemaim that the idea is that your Torah has to be purely for the sake of heaven, meaning with such dveikus and such holiness. It just means that for the sake of heaven as opposed to your own personal sake. Oh, good. Which is really clear from the end of the words Rabbi Eliezer Bar Tzodok. He continues, he says, Al tasem haTorah le'izgadol b'hem. Don't make the words of Torah as a crown to le'izgadol, to raise yourself with them. Right? So I mean, clearly, right, anytime there's a discussion of Lishmo, it means not for your own personal sake. The question is, how far do you take in the other direction for heaven? Is it dveikus, or it just means just not for yourself? Okay, but he's saying is that the not for yourself of Torah, according to the Rosh, and he wants to say Rashi agrees to that, is only for this, not for your own sake, but only purely for the sake of the Torah herself. V'zesh Messiah Shas, and this is what the Shas says. Gabi Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, right? We brought this Chazal before that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai shlo hiniach, etc., etc. That Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, when he learned, he did not leave over any part of the Torah unlearned. That he learned every single part of the Torah, and that was connected to the idea of learning Torah Lishma. So because L'Kayim Hashanemar, let's finish. L'Kayim, and he did this in order to fulfill what it says in Mishlei, Lehanchil Oyhavai Yesh, that Hashem inherits Oyhavai, those that love me, meaning Hashem's talking, those that love me, Yesh, I inherit them with the Yesh. Yesh means substance, right? Shemavoyer ha'inyan shom b'chol oisa parsha shehu ma'amer ha'torah ha'kedosha atzma. The Torah of Oyhavai is not really Hashem speaking. Those that love me, I will inherit them with Yesh. Oyhavai is the Torah speaking over there. Those that love me, the Torah says, those that love me, the Torah, I will give them substance. So shehu ma'amer ha'torah ha'kedosha atzma. This is the statement of the Torah, Holy Torah herself. Asher b'chutz Torahina, which is screaming on the outskirts, sheyesh le'el yodo lehanchil v'litin schar tov, that she, the Torah, has through God the ability to inherit and give over a great reward. L'chol, to anyone hahoyge ve'oisegvo, that speaks and is involved in the Torah. Machmas ahavoso atzma mamash, but through only because of the love for the Torah herself. Right, so again, if the idea of Lishma means not for your own sake, but for the sake of something else, which is what love is, when you do something not for yourself, but when you do something for the sake of another, right? So over here, the Torah says, those that love me, right, I have substance, meaning I have rewards reserved for them, right? So those that love me, I have rewards for them. What does it mean they love me? So again, he's saying that the love of me, of the Torah, expresses itself through learning as much of Torah as possible, right? And that's meaning because that pasuk is connected to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, right? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the Gemara says, praises him. What was so great about him? That he did not leave any part of Torah unlearned, and that's an example of love of Torah. So we see that love of Torah expresses itself not through some dveikus and in the preciousness of the way you're treating that one pasuk, which you say to yourself over and over with purity of heart. That's not an expression of love for the Torah. The expression of love for the Torah is displayed through learning as much of the Torah as possible, to get a better understanding of the Torah, to appreciate the words and the thought and the logic and the knowledge that comes from seeing the whole picture. Good. So that's the end. So that's the basic idea. So the basic definition is just summarize, even though I said it already 10 times, but to summarize. So he's bringing a new idea into the world of learning Torah, and that is learning Torah almost as a science, you could say, because he's really, in a way, detaching it from God. I mean, I don't want to say it the way I'm saying it, not really in the way he means it, but I'm just to clearly illustrate the difference between learning the mitzvah of learning Torah and other mitzvahs. Right? Those other mitzvahs, there is a clear expectation of doing those mitzvahs for the sake of God, and by the Torah, the high level expectation is not so much for the sake of God, but more so for the sake of the knowledge that comes with the Torah, right? For the sake of delving into the knowledge that is hidden within the Torah, and that can only be achieved not necessarily through dveikus, although of course again it's going to be a part of it, but that's not the goal. The goal is knowledge. If you do it with dveikus, amazing. But the goal, the primary goal, is always the knowledge of the Torah, the understanding of the Torah, the appreciation of the depths and levels of what the Torah stands for, the wisdom of the Torah. That's the ultimate goal.
Isn't the driving factor still the Shem Shemayim? Okay, so you can learn Torah, you know how to bring kavronos, you know the laws of Mitzorah.
No, because he's saying the Torah becomes an end in itself. the knowledge of Torah in a way is an end in itself. Right now, so I mean, is it ultimately for God? Yes, of course, it's ultimately for God. But there is the Torah is much more of an end in itself. That's the point over here. Meaning lulav, asheka lulav. Lulav is only a mitzvah. It's only a spiritual act, because Hashem told me, pick up a lulav and shake it, right? While the Torah, its very fabric, is a spiritual endeavor, right? And so learning of the Torah, just by its very nature, is automatically in a kind of an uplifting spiritual experience, and that's what it means, for its own sake. It doesn't need that additional aspect that, hey, don't forget the reason why you're doing it for God's sake, because it is God's Torah. It's so permeated with God's wisdom that again, unless you're doing it contrarily as guys, right? Unless you're using it for self-fulfilling purposes, but as long as you're doing it purely for the sake of the Torah, then it automatically kind of is for God's sake. It's a spiritual activity. It's like it's the connection to God. It's the ultimate connection to God. So that it automatically, it doesn't need you're redirecting it to God. You're attaching yourself directly to God, much more so than with any other mitzvah. That's where he's kind of headed. Okay, so let's see Perek Dal. And so now he's gonna. Okay. Well, the truth is, I mean, I wanted to just remember now. Last time I wanted to learn the words of the Ramchal as a to see if they agree or disagree, or if they can be united. But let's leave that for another time. Then he's gonna bring some of the points of the Ramchal here, anyways, and then I guess we'll do it next time. So Perek Daled Amnam, however, Vadai, certainly the EF Shalom Shein Tzarich Linyan as Esek HaTorah. You cannot. It's impossible to say that you don't need, for the sake of learning Torah, shum toiher hamachshava, any purity of thought, v'yiras Hashem chalila, and the fear of God, God forbid, right? Certainly, I'm not telling you what I just said. He's saying that it's a science. It turns into science, right? That's not, of course, what I mean. Shaharei Mishnah Shlema Shanino. There's this Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says Im ein yira ein chachma. If there is no fear of God, there is no wisdom, right? V'omru in Yuma, they said in Yuma, my diksiv. What is it written in the pasuk? The pasuk says Lama ze mechir biyad ksil. Why is this precious thing in the hand of a ksil? Liknes chachma v'lev ein. He's gonna buy wisdom, but he's got no heart, right? Meaning, and the Gemara darshans from this pasuk, Oy lohem l'talmidei chachamim. Whoa, how sad is it to those talmidei chachamim she'oiskim b'Torah, they study Torah, ve'ein b'hem yiras shamayim. They're compared to this fool who's got this precious item, but he doesn't know how to really use it. Right? So Torah without yiras shamayim is an avera in a sense. Ubishmois Rabbah, and also in Medrash Rabbah, it says, Kol mishu yodeya, somebody who knows, ve'ein b'yodei yiras chet, but in his hand there is no fear of sin, ein b'yodei klum, he's got nothing. Right? Shekifli yois shel Torah b'yiras chet. The kifliyos, I'm not sure what the kifliyos is, of Torah are in the fear of sin. I mean, some levels of Torah, layers of folds of Torah. I think kipul means to fold. So the layers of Torah are in yiras chet. And it continues with Bagdomas Hazoyhar Omer Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Shehayira ihitara. The yira is Tara. Tara means a gate. Le'al to go up. Legoy mehem nusa, into faith. Ve'al pekuda dois kayim kol alma. And on this commandment, meaning the commandment of, I'm not sure, faith or yiras shamayim, I'm not sure which commandment he's referring to. I think Amuna. Iskayim kol alma, rests the entire world. V'do ikra v'yisoydo l'chol shar pekudim deraisa. And this, meaning faith, is the foundation of all other commandments in the Torah. Man denoter, actually no, he's going to Yira, my apologies. So man denoter Yira, somebody who guards fear, noter kula, guards everything. Lo noter Yira, but somebody who does not guard fear, lo noter pekudim deraisa. He does not guard the law, the mitzvahs of the Torah. Okay, and again, just more and more rise. So the Parshas Behar, my oil malchus shamayim. What does it mean? The yoke of kingship of heaven. Elakehai Torah, like the Torah. Hachinami itzterich leilavar nash. Also, a person is required lekabola alei ol bekadmaisa. Before a person learns, he should accept the yoke of heaven. Uleboser de yiflach lei, and then after he serves. And everything that is necessary. But if he does not accept the yoke of heaven before, he's not going to be able to serve Hashem. This is what it's written. If does Hashem beyira, serve Hashem with fear. Mahu beyira, k'deisa reishus chochma yiras Hashem. The beginning of wisdom is fear of heaven, fear of Hashem. And therefore, before he learns, you gotta, therefore, before you start, you have to accept this fear of Hashem. Begin the Bahai, because through that, Ayel l'shar kedusha. Then he can enter the rest of kedusha. V'yihai lo yishtikach l'gabei, and if he doesn't have this, meaning the fear of Hashem by him, lo yishar yebei kedusha dil eila. The kedusha from above cannot rest on him. Okay, continue. V'omru oid. Furthermore, they say, Kol shiras cheto kademes l'chachmosi. This is also in Pirkei Avos. Anybody whose fear of sin precedes his wisdom, chachmosoi miskayemes. His wisdom will remain by him. Right, is able to attach itself. Ki yiras Hashem tchilo hi ikar hakiyum shel chachmas haTorah. Yiras Hashem is the beginning of the kiyum, of fulfillment of the wisdom of the Torah. So the Gemara says over there that brings this pasuk from Yeshayahu that kind of hints to the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. In each phrase in that pasuk, the Gemara darshans for one of the Storim and Mishnahs. For example, Emunas, it is Seder Zroyim. The faith is I'm sorry, hold on. Emunas is Seder Zroim Mitecha, which means time. Is Seder Moed, that deals with holidays and etc. So the beginning is the Emunah. Choshev Shom Bezeh Pasuk Kol HaShas. And that pasuk, the Gemara darshans the entire Shas, meaning the 6 Sidorim of Mishnah. Umesayim, and then the Gemara concludes, V'afilu hochi yiras Hashem hi oitzaroi. The fear of Hashem is it's oitzer. Oitzer means a storage house, it's warehouse. Dima kosav as haTorah l'roiv tvuos. The pasuk compares the Torah to an abundance of produce. V'ha'ira le'oitzer, and the fear of Hashem is compared to a storage house. Hamachzik boy hamoin tvuos, that holds all of this great produce. And the produce is guarded in it. Shiras Hashem hi ha'oitzer l'chachmas haTorah kadosh. Shiras Hashem is like the storage house which protects the wisdom of the Holy Torah. Shal yodot tiskayim eitz la'odem. Through the fear of Hashem, the Torah can remain by the person. So therefore, if a person did not prepare in the beginning the storage house of fear, as if he left this great produce that he could have collected, he left it right there on the field, mirmas regel ashor, for the trampling of the feet of ox, v'achamor, and the donkeys. And so the Torah does not remain by him at all. And finally, you find person who's learning this medrash halachos v'agodos but if he has no yiras chet, he does not have anything. Mashal le'odam, and compared to a person Yesh li elef midos shel tvua. He has 1,000 measures of produce. Omer le yesh lecha apoitikos litnoi som behem. But do you have any bags to carry them? He says no. So he says, so what's the point? Shenemer vayomunos atecha, and it brings the same pasuk. So again, so we just Perak Dalet is basically just one chazal after another from different places, from Medrash, Gemara, Zohar, Pirkei Avos, right? That show that without Yiras Hashem, Torah is not worth it. It's not applicable. It's not sustainable. It doesn't work. So how do you put this together, right? So on one hand, he wants to tell us that Torah has its own independent entity. On the other hand, we have all this Ma'amorei Chazal that say, no, without Yiras Hashem, Torah is nothing. So how do you put that together? So let's see. Okay, we have a few minutes. So let's see, Parakeh. So in Parakeh he says, and of course, in proportion to the measurement of the storage house of the fear of Hashem, asher heichin lo ha'adam, that person prepared for himself, kein al zeh ha'erech, so in proportion to that measure, yuchel likonis is able to enter, uleishtamer, and to be guarded there, uleiskayim besoicha, and to remain inside of him, tvuois haTorah, the produce of the Torah, kefi asher yachzik oitzeroi, in accordance to what his oitzer, his storage house, can sustain. Why? Because the father that is dividing his produce amongst his sons, he gives everybody a measure of produce. But what does he consider? He considers right, in accordance to what the son can accept in his storage house, that he prepared from before, right? So if the father is doling out whatever it is, his goods, right, this produce, so he's going to give only as much as the son is able to receive within the storage house. Shafim yirtzav, even if the father wants to give more, right, his hand is open to give him as much as possible. Amnam, however, but the ben can't accept anymore. Because his storage house is not so great, that he can sustain more. So therefore the father cannot give him anymore. So the son did not prepare even a small storage house, so the father won't give him anything, because he has no place to guard it, that it should remain by him. Similarly is Hashem. Right, so Hashem is in the same way. His hand is open, psucha, right, to give over constantly lekol ish, to every person from his nation, as much wisdom and great in additional understanding. Shetiskayim etzlom, that they should have it by them. V'yikshereim aluach libom, and they should tie it, right, bind it onto the tablet of their hearts. So that they will enjoy, they will derive pleasure from this Torah when they come to this olam hamenucha, meaning to their final resting place, with talmudim biyodim, to come with the learning in their hands. Right. So here's it's very important idea here that he's saying, which in a way, I don't know. I mean, he's exaggerating or not, I don't know. But he's basically saying that every single Jew, right, is Hashem is there to give him, unlimited amount of Torah and understanding. Again, I could have said, it's nice. I mean, it's a cute idea, but look around in this, all the ADHD and special ed and all the thick-headed people around there. Do you really think that they were given a chances to become these I don't know, maybe he's just speaking, or maybe at the end of the day somehow it is a dveikus of Hashem, that I don't know. Okay, but you get the right question, and the question is more important than the answer. Amna mahadover tolui. Right, but the matter depends. Lifi oitzer hayira shetigdam elodim. according to the storage house of fear that a person prepared for himself. If a person prepared for himself a great storage house of Yiras Hashem that's pure, so too Hashem will give him wisdom and understanding with abundance, as much as his storage house can hold. Hakol lefi goydel oitzaroi, all in accordance to his storage house. And obviously, if a person did not prepare even a small oitzer, he has no fear of Hashem at all. So too, Hashem will not give him over any wisdom at all, because it's not going to remain by him anyways. Because the Torah will be disgusting to him. Okay, so we're kind of halfway. I'm going to stop here just because he's giving his roundabout way, but we're gonna. He just did. What did he do just now? He told us, listen, Torah is an end unto itself. Then he says, but look, I have all these places in Chazal that seem to indicate that Torah without Yira is nothing. So he says, oh, of course, listen, Torah is the storage, and the Yiras Hashem is the storage house. Your religiosity is your storage house for the Torah. Torah is not like a regular science, that it's not connected to religion. It is religion. It is spirituality. And Yiras Hashem is the storage house for spirituality. And if you have no Yiras Hashem, so you have no spirituality. So what are you doing learning spiritual stuff? That's basically, it's a very formulaic thing. This doesn't work. So A plus B equals C. So A plus C, whatever the formula is, right? So, but but he didn't really explain why is the Yiras Hashem the storage house. What does that mean? It's a storage house. And does it really mean that if I have no Yiras Hashem, I cannot have wisdom of the Torah? But we do see people without Yiras Hashem that are pretty smart and intelligent. So and again, we're still kind of trying to understand what exactly is the Torah that makes it so that by its very nature, its very definition, you're going to learn. You're going to become right away, right? You're lifted up. Okay, so I learned that when an ox gores another ox, you got to pay, this much money. Maybe the first 3 times you pay half. It's after that you pay more. So this is somehow is going to be uplifting me to become this what's going on here. So we don't know why Yiras Hashem is this storage house. It's a nice, cute term, right? But we don't know exactly what are the mechanics of this thing that makes the Yiras Hashem into the storage house. And we don't know. Furthermore, we don't know what this wisdom of Torah is. That to say that this wisdom of Torah is so great that in and of itself it's the end by itself. So these are the questions that we need still answers to, and we'll end right there.